Since I started this channel, I've had to watch a lot of stuff I wouldn't normally watch. Some things I would never have gone within 100 feet of if I didn't have to review them. And like with so much of the content out there right now, a lot of these things tend to come with some kind of politics, or some kind of agenda, or even just simple social commentary, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when so many projects are so intent on delivering some kind of message, it can get hard to remember that they don't always need to. And it's possible that I've become a little bit jaded by this, because I can't help but feel surprised these days whenever I watch a movie or a TV show that isn't trying to say something about the real world or society or politics or gender issues or feminism. It just wants to tell an entertaining story that you can escape into for a couple hours and maybe make you feel something along the way. Projects like that are becoming kind of a rarity, so when one comes along, I think it ought to be talked about, especially when it's good. I didn't know much about the Adam Project before I saw it. The trailer looked like pretty standard stuff. Ryan Reynolds goes back in time and meets his younger self. Also, he's punching a guy wearing body armor without breaking his fist somehow. That's kind of silly. Might be okay, but I didn't think much of it aside from it being something to review this weekend. Well, I should have paid closer attention, because not only did this turn out to be a lot better than I expected, it might be one of the better things Ryan Reynolds has done. Easily the best thing about this movie is the casting, and it feels weird saying this since child acting tends to be something I want to see as little of as possible, but a big part of what makes it work is the actor playing young Adam, Ryan Reynolds' character, as a kid. Big chunks of the movie are just the two of them interacting, and if you don't believe that they're the same person as a kid and as an adult, then this doesn't work. But you do. The actors clearly put a ton of effort into making sure that they were really in sync. They play off each other great, they've got the same mannerisms, even their comedic timing is pretty similar. It's kind of like the opposite of what happened in Shazam. In that movie, you never totally felt like the kid and the adult were the same character because they acted too differently. They felt like two different people. But here, you really buy the idea that this kid is a young Ryan Reynolds. The kid is really good, actually. And because that core dynamic works, everything else becomes a lot easier to accept. Like the plot, for example. Time travel stories can be really tough to get right. The second that genie is out of the bottle, you're just opening yourself up to a mess of plot holes and inconsistencies. It can fall apart so quick. But thankfully, they avoid those for the most part because the focus isn't really on that stuff. There's a brief explanation of how time travel in the movie works, and in this case, that's all it really needed. But otherwise, it's more of a story about a guy who's trying to save his family, come to terms with a lot of regrets that he has, and reconnect with someone he lost a long time ago. Time travel is just the thing that sets all that in motion. So even though you might have some questions about A, B, or C regarding the time travel stuff, they're not things that you're overly concerned with at the end of the day. And focusing on the emotion and the family stuff instead of the time travel aspect was a really good move, because one, in a lot of cases, the more you try to explain time travel, the less sense it makes, and two, the family angle is where the most poignant stuff in the movie is. Now don't get me wrong, overall Ryan Reynolds is still playing Ryan Reynolds here. There's still a lot of his trademark humor, but there are a number of scenes where he dials himself back to where he's not being the snarky smartass all the time and tries to do some acting. And the results are not the worst thing ever. It's nothing too heavy, but for a guy who's spent most of his career essentially playing himself in the same mode over and over, it works better than you might think. Like his character Adam lost his dad when he was young, which then strained the relationship with his mom, and they take the time to show how much he regrets this, how he wishes he treated his mom better, which is played very straight. So when he acknowledges the mistakes he made there and tries to kind of grease the wheels with his mom and his younger self, I thought, damn Ryan Reynolds, you got me with that one. Nice job. These might be particular acting muscles that Reynolds doesn't exercise very often, but turns out he does have them. And because time travel, we also meet the dad, which is another screwed up relationship, and young Adam and adult Adam each have their own issues with that, plus the dad has issues of his own which turn out to be quite important, and it creates some pretty heartfelt moments here, because both versions of Adam do miss their dad, dad, but it was a dysfunctional relationship, and now adult Adam has been sitting on that for 3 decades, which has led to him having a slightly different view of the situation, so him and his younger self have to learn from each other to find out where that pain is coming from. There's kind of a lot there, and it's pretty thoughtfully handled, actually. They're not trying to emotionally exhaust you or anything, but don't be surprised if you get a little misty-eyed once or twice. In fact, this is some of the best stuff in the movie. I'd say the dramatic bits are better than the comedic ones. And you know what helps a lot with that? You know what helps make the emotion feel genuine? When the story doesn't get political. You've got your female characters in there, of course, and I'm sure that makes some of you immediately think certain things, just like it did for me, but they're both treated like characters. One is a weak-willed person who gets corrupted and coerced into going down a dark path. The other is Adam's wife, who, yeah, is probably there to fill the strong female character quota, but not in an annoying way. She's very likable and cool. It's easy to see what Adam sees in her, and she doesn't get shoved down our throats either. She's there when the movie needs her to be. She makes a good impression without overshadowing her husband or anyone else. She pushes the story forward, raises the stakes, that's another really good moment, and otherwise, they keep the focus on the main players where it should be. And I kept waiting for them to pull the trigger on the feminism angle, where the female villain is just an innocent victim who was led astray by a man who was the real one they were trying to demonize the whole time, or where Ryan Reynolds' wife takes over the narrative and shoves him into the back seat because she wears the pants in their marriage, damn it, or something like that, but none of those things happen. The female characters aren't there to make political statements, they're just there to be characters. It's amazing how easy that formula is to get right sometimes, isn't it? And something else I appreciated is that the movie is bold enough to not take the easy way out. Because it's a time travel story, there's always gonna be that temptation to pull a Deus Ex Machina out of your ass and wrap everything up a little bit too neatly, because you can just go back and change everything that had gone wrong even before time travel came into the picture and make a better future for all the characters. Or the good guys, at least. But the filmmakers were savvy enough to understand that when you do this, you might wind up with a happier ending, but you also run the risk of cheapening the whole thing. And no spoilers, but that issue does inevitably come up. And when it does, the story makes some surprisingly mature decisions that I frankly wouldn't have expected from something like this, but which made me respect the movie a lot more than I thought I would. I was surprised how much I ended up liking The Adam Project. This is a good movie for dads to watch with their kids. And throw mom in there too, why not? It's pretty family friendly. Maybe put the super young kids to bed first, but still, this is pretty solid all ages entertainment here. It doesn't break the mold or anything, but this movie felt like a throwback to a time when the culture and the movies said culture produced were a lot less complicated, a lot less politicized, and the only agenda a movie needed was being a fun movie. On top of that, the filmmakers knew how to rein in Ryan Reynolds to where he's a little less snarky and a little more genuine. It had a child actor who was surprisingly very good. It didn't try to hammer in any annoying politics that didn't need to be there, and it had a story that was actually a little more poignant than I gave it credit for. I may not have thought much about the movie going in, but it really won me over in the end. And anytime a movie or a show can rise above my expectations rather than sink below them these days, that's a project that deserves some kudos. If you want to take the family out to the movies, but you also really want to save on gas money, streaming The Adam Project on Netflix is a pretty good alternative. And while you're doing that, why don't you head on down to the comments section too and let me know what you thought of The Adam Project. Ding that bell icon and follow me on social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. Links to everything are down there. And most importantly, don't forget to thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to have people try to kill him and his family 30 years in the past due to time traveling shenanigans he needs to stop from ever being a thing in the first place is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now, but I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.